It was the big day today. It's all that we've been talking about for months. Day one of the G20 Summit. If you've been tracking the news, you know that the hype is real. India took over the G20 presidency in Bali last December. So the last 9 months have come down to this moment, the Leaders' Summit here in New Delhi. It kicked off this morning at the Bharat Mandapam, a newly constructed sprawling building in the heart of the national capital. The place is buzzing with action right now. World leaders, diplomats, journalists, the who's who of the world, all gathered at the center of New Delhi. It is what many call the Met Gala of diplomacy. I know diplomacy can be boring, but the G20 summit is not just about policy discussions. Sure, that is important, but it's also about the grandeur, the opulence, diplomatic finesse, and international flair. The summit will go on for 2 days, today and tomorrow. So like I said, today was day one. It started with the welcome of world leaders. Like any host, Prime Minister Modi arrived first. He was there to greet the leaders to the summit. There were some laughs, hugs, even banter that was shared. The Indian Prime Minister welcomed world leaders in front of this backdrop, the Konark Wheel in Odisha. It was built during the 13th century, so a perfect backdrop for India's welcome handshake. The Prime Minister welcomed 36 world leaders, leaders of G20 nations, leaders of nations that India invited to the summit, the United Nations Secretary General, the World Bank President, the MD of the International Monetary Fund. Once the welcome was done, it was time to get down to business. Prime Minister Modi kick-started the day with a welcome speech.
21वीं सदी का यह समय पूरी दुनिया को नई दिशा दिखाने वाला और नई दिशा देने वाला एक महत्वपूर्ण समय है। ये वो समय है जब बरसों पुरानी चुनौतियां हमसे नए समाधान मांग रही हैं और इसलिए हमें ह्यूमन सेंट्रिक अप्रोच के साथ अपने हर दायित्व को निभाते हुए ही आगे बढ़ना है।
It's the placard ahead of him that got everyone's attention. It said Bharat instead of India. Now this comes amid speculation of a name change for the country. Both names, Bharat and India, find mention in the Indian constitution, but the use of Bharat has caused some debate, a lot of discussion now. Is India looking at a name change? Nothing has been said officially. So it's all speculation right now, which brings us to the other significant moment in this session, this historic hug. It's one for the history books. The summit witnessed a landmark decision. The G20 has become the G21 now. But more on that later. The inclusion of the African Union. We'll talk about that in detail. Let's, for now, focus on the first session of the G20 summit. It was called One Earth. This is in line with India's G20 slogan, Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, which translates to the world is one family, one earth, one family, one future. That's the slogan. The first session was One Earth. As the name suggests, it largely focused on environmental issues.
आज G20 के प्रेसिडेंट के तौर पर भारत पूरी दुनिया का आह्वान करता है कि हम मिलकर सबसे पहले इस ग्लोबल ट्रस्ट डेफिसिट को एक विश्वास, एक भरोसे में बदलें। यह हम सभी के साथ मिलकर चलने का समय है।
Then came session 2, One Family. The last session for day one of the G20 summit, that was One Family. Today there were 2 sessions. And a big moment for India's presidency. The G20 adopted the Delhi Declaration.
मैं इस डिक्लेरेशन को एडॉप्ट करने की घोषणा करता हूं।
This is a big win for New Delhi. We'll discuss in detail what this means for India and what it took to forge the consensus. That's coming later on the show. But all in all, it was a very productive day for G20 and the Indian Prime Minister agreed. But the day was not just about these 2 sessions. A lot more was going on the sidelines. Bilaterals, announcement of alliances, historic infrastructure deals, photo ops, and some good old selfies. Looks like even world leaders cannot resist the camera. The day ended with a gala dinner at the Bharat Mandapam. It was hosted by India's President Draupadi Murmu. The guest list includes 170 people. And this list has heads of state, Indian chief ministers, cabinet and state ministers, and other notable guests. There is a 3-hour special concert for leaders as well, a musical journey highlighting India's culture. Then they were treated to a unique dining experience, one that highlights India's rich culture and heritage. Millet, of course, was the hero in the menu. This is the International Year of Millets, and India wants to become the global hub for this food item, millets. They call it Shri Ann. And there were millet leaf crisps, millet pudding, Indian breads like Mumbai Pav, curry leaf tossed Kerala red rice. Basically a menu that highlights India's diversity, culinary diversity as well. So the first day concluded with this dinner. There's still day 2 to go, that's tomorrow, and another day of hectic diplomacy in the Indian capital. We'll be bringing you all the details and the updates right here on Firstpost and on a special edition of Vantage that's also coming tomorrow night. All in all, this is India's moment. New Delhi's coming out on the global stage, as it were, and we have been here for some time, but this was India's occasion to shine.